Greetings, fellow recruits. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to our Adventurer Guild. Episode 2, Hiring New Recruits and Exploring the Guild. So here's the adventurers. We have a limit of 25. Of course, they all are due wages. So recruiting adventurers that you don't necessarily need is like a bad idea. Things to look at. So you have the traits, which are really important, and then you have a you have like a shortcut here. Let me hide the overlay real quick. You have a shortcut here, which is the stars indicate that they're going to level up in that thing well. That this is like their focused trait. So let's just take a look. Let's look through the list and see if we can find any that are like decent. So we have this is a priest. And you can always see the details in here. This is a healer priest who's huge, insightful, and gluttonous. And I can't say that that's a really good combination for a priest. So I'm going to be a little picky if I can. Whitlock here is boring, so more likely to have negative relationships with other characters. He loves pain, which normally would be a good thing for a frontliner. Recovers bravery points whenever they get hit in battle, but suffers more damage. And then they're quick. Not a great pick either. Landon here is educated, so he has insanely high intelligence growth. So let's talk about growth real quick. I did mention this before, but when you level up, you will gain stat points based upon your traits. Oh, and here's the raffle. So Scorpio, it's you. I will update that in a minute. So when you level up, you gain stat points. So someone that is educated is going to gain an incredible amount, will have a very high likelihood of gaining intelligence. So if you put them in a role that is intelligence-based, like a mage, which has an int of B, meaning they level up intelligence, they'll become really smart really quick. Why this matters, and this, I'm going to go over to this detail screen here. The amount of stat points or attribute points you gain goes up a lot more once you become a veteran class. So when a mage becomes a high mage, they will start to gain even more stat points more quickly and become stronger more quickly. Which means someone like this recruit here in a mage role will become a high mage, a veteran mage, very quickly likely. They're also organized, so they have even more intelligence growth, which is ridiculous, and also increases camping point action points. They're strong, and they're pretty. I see no reason not to recruit this person, because they're insanely powerful. It's ridiculous. So recruit. Taking a look. Ascetic. So ascetic can be useful in some cases. The ascetic won't consume any supplies during camping, so they're easier to feed. However, they have horrible endurance growth, so they will not make for good tanks. This person is also scarred, which means they have lower HP, but are more brave, and they're a pacifist. They don't like to hurt people. Yeah, that's gonna not fly with me, sorry. Kristen is pretty, pessimist, sadist, so they will always gain bravery points when damaging an enemy, and has a chance to lose it when they haven't damaged anyone in the round. It's kind of annoying to have them have to go berserking. They are bright, however. I don't think they're a great choice. They're a choice, though. We've got a knight who is popular, bright, and eagle-eyed. Those are all 3 positive traits. With that said, being bright and eagle-eyed, which is intelligence and accuracy, crit, and dex. Intelligence and dex sounds more like an archer than a knight. So recruiting someone like this person would be good, but having them potentially change classes to an archer, which is better suited to their growth traits, might be smarter. So I'm going to recruit them knowing that they have potential, but maybe not in a knight role, because a knight role is going to be endurance and strength primarily. Penelope is a glutton. I'm just going to ignore you. A greedy glutton. Yeah, okay. Mia, you're determined. So willpower, you're greedy, and you're a fast learner. Fast learner is really powerful. You'll level up faster, and you have a higher stat growth for all skills. But greedy low-key sucks. It increases their wage even though you find more loot on quests, I generally don't think having greedy people is great. This person is a Death Wish. So, what ends up happening with Death Wish? I know the tutorial hasn't gone through it yet, but when you are going to suffer a killing blow, you'll roll for Death Wish, meaning that instead of dying, you're on brink of death. And someone with a Death Wish isn't going to... So Bravery State can never get lower than normal, and the character can never gain Shaken status. However, there's a 5% chance to gain a Mark status at the beginning of the turn. So, like, they're more likely to die. There is a positive there, but they're more likely to die. They are magically talented, but that Death Wish has me worried. And then we've got another boring person. So we have 5 adventurers right now. I think that's a pretty good start. I don't think we need more than that. And every week we'll get a new subset of adventurers for hire in the bar. Additionally, if you see any characters over here with the green indicator, that means they have a conversation for you to have. So I'll talk to Tavi. Here for a drink, Guildmaster? Did you used to be an adventurer? No, why would you think that? It just seemed very likely in a place like this. If you really want to know, I joined the Adventurers Guild because of my husband. He was an adventurer, and he was also one of the first adventurers to join the Adventurer Guild. When he joined the guild, I opened a tavern here to help with the former guildmaster. It was my way of staying close to him, because my family used to run a tavern in Cragmond, and I had no trouble with running one in the guild. Sure, adventurers can be rougher bunch than most of my husband, but my husband always had a knack for reminding people not to cause any trouble in my tavern. You say he was an adventurer. He never got to retire. I guess that was never unexpected. That's the life of an adventurer for you. One day you're making plans for the future together, and the next day there is none to be had. I see. There's no need to feel sorry for me, Guildmaster. It happened a long time ago. Right now I'm more concerned about the people paying their tabs. Still, don't want that drink. That's all. Alright. I'm going to trigger the raffle for the 2 new people. Good. You found a group that is willing to work with you. Congratulations. It's much easier than having to deal with you. So what's next? Now that we have adventurers, we should be able to do quests again. Before we send the adventurers on their first quest for the Adventurers Guild, we should make some preparations. Usually, the guild provides adventurers with items for their adventures. A few potions, bandages, antidotes, etc. Unfortunately, the guild currently has nothing in their inventory. And where do we get more? We still have a merchant here who is selling us his supplies. But he's a bit, well, it doesn't matter. You'll see for yourself. I don't like how that sounds. Well, I guess it's time for you to meet Makan. This is our supplier. His name is Makan. I'm pretty sure it's made up. It certainly is! I see we're already off to a great start. Care to explain? After the guild has started to lose reputation, fewer and fewer merchants are willing to do business with us. Then suddenly, a very suspicious stranger appeared. That would be me. And he offered to become our supplier now that all the other merchants have cut their contact with us. He never showed us his face, he never told us where he came from, or why he even wants to support the Adventurer Guild. It's all the red flags. But beggars can't be choosers. And you, my dear customers, are very much beggars right now, and I'm the philanthropist who's holding you up. So you're doing this out of generosity? Oh no! No. The actual reason is completely different from that. And you're not going to tell us? Exactly. You're just as insightful as you look. I mean, even if I told you a reason, how could you possibly know I'm telling you the truth? For all you know, I could be a big, bad, evil guy, and this is just part of an unnecessarily elaborate plan to destroy everything you love and care about. Lighten up, Guildmaster. I'm joking, of course. I miss the old Guildmaster. He actually laughed when I told him that. Despite all of it, that There was never any problem with the wares Makan brought to us. Quite the opposite, in fact. I guess we have no choice but to keep relying on you then? Thank you, Guildmaster. You will not regret this. Or will you? Just kidding. Alright. So we can sell our stuff. And we can buy his stuff. His stuff will also refresh every week, just like the tavern. And I was supposed to buy something. What was it? 2 bandages, 2 antidotes, 2 minor health, 2 minor mana. 2 bandages, 2 health, 2 mana, 2 antidote. And let's have a conversation with him. Hello, Guildmaster. How can I be of service? How old are you? After 2 millennia, I stopped counting. What is your real name? It's a word that cannot be pronounced in any known language. Are you human? If I were, would I be wearing all these clothes to cover up my skin? Was any of that remotely true? No. Good talking to you. Anything else you'd like to say? Nope. So, yeah, he's like a bit of an enigma, to say the very least. He's got big hands, yes. He's Andre the Giant under that cloak, or something, who knows. Alright, so we bought the supplies that we needed to buy. Now, there's still one place I also need to know of, the temple. Sometimes people get injured and need only time to heal. But time is a luxury we cannot always afford. Yes, unfortunately. But the temple can help us with that. How about we also give it a visit today? So, we have a temple in the Adventurers Guild. Are you sure you want to step foot in here? Aren't you afraid of turning into ashes? Of course not. Unlike you, I'm not a faithless heathen. You shouldn't be more worried that the gods don't smite you because you defile this place with your presence. I would pray for your soul if you had one. You too should be more worried whether the gods would be offended by your bickerings in this place of all places. Oh, hey Nora. Nice to see you. Nice to see you too, Mr. Falcon. And you have, of course, you too, Miss Fiola. And if you excuse me, I have something to do. She left rather quickly. I'll run that raffle in just a second. So, hello, Fiola. Hello, Falcon. Hi, hello, Eden. We're actually looking for you. Oh, is that so? Then I'm happy to be here. How can I help you? We wanted to introduce you to the new guild master. Guildmaster, this is Eden. He is in charge of the temple here and is also a training instructor for the guild. Eden is our new guildmaster, Rad. So you're Rad. Is something wrong? No, it's nothing. I just heard a lot about you. Sigh, what did Fran tell you? It wasn't the former guildmaster. It was Fiola. Why are you looking at me? Isn't it obvious that you'd consult a priest if the devil haunts your nightmares? Don't worry, Guildmaster. Of course, I know Fiola was probably exaggerating. You seem to be a bit touchy subject for her. I don't even want to know. You really don't. Moving on. As I told you before, sometimes adventurers will need to be sent out again before they're ready. In those cases, Eden can help us. Usually, healing magic is only capable of giving temporary relief. When adventurers use healing magic or healing potions on the field, they will still need to recover naturally when they come back. But we priests from the Church of Ganenta are specialized in the art of healing and capable of a ritual that can forcefully recover all injuries. I'm familiar with that process. It's not a great feeling. Unfortunately, it isn't. Having the body mend itself is a rather painful process. Therefore, it shouldn't be used too often. Otherwise, your adventurers will be less than thankful. Basically, you can force recover. So, I'll just read this. Adventurers who sustain injuries during a quest will require time to recover. While it's still possible to send them on quests if necessary, injured adventurers will have a reduced maximum hit point during a quest. The church can forcibly heal your adventurers, but this process is painful for them and will lower their mood. So, Fish Pickles, for instance, has an injury of 3, a severity of 3, and we can force heal him for 200 gold. Do you need our healing skills, Guildmaster? And it shouldn't be Fish Pickles anyway, it should be Scorpio. Alright, let's talk to Eden, and then we'll do that raffle. How can I help, Guildmaster? How long have you been a part of the Adventurers Guild? 8 years? Why'd you join? Because I believe in the good that we can do. What a strange thing to say about adventurers. I used to feel the same, but I remember the day the former guildmaster came to us and asked for our help. Adventurers had never had a good reputation with the church. They were only known as people who do anything for money, and sometimes were a big problem as bandits and monsters. But the former guildmaster seemed different. He told us about his Adventurers Guild. He wanted it to be something that could help people. He believed that the guild could provide help to the common people in a time when more and more people resort to banditry and monsters roam unhindered into human territory. He also believed that the guild could also provide a chance for adventurers to be more like what they were currently known, more than what they are currently known for. Honestly, to us it sounded more like he wanted to create a guild for heroes. It sounded so unbelievable that many at the time had their own doubts. But not me. I don't know what it was, but when he said what he said resonated with me that day, and I volunteered to join the Adventurers Guild as a representative. Unfortunately, not many of my brothers and sisters followed me. They doubt if Guild of Adventurers could do any good. Seeing the state of the current guild, maybe the doubters were right. I disagree, Guildmaster. Maybe the guild has declined, but remember that before that, it had done what it had promised to do. In these 8 years, I've seen adventurers do more good and protect more lives than anyone would have expected them. How else can I help? That's all. Alright, so let's sort out the character. Oh, no. In a minute. Now we should have everything ready for the adventurers to start the first official quest for the guild. For now, the quests we get aren't much, but hopefully, when our reputation starts getting better, there will be more and better paying quests available. From here on out, the future of the Adventurers Guild is in your hands. Don't screw this up. Accepting quests. From this point on, your goal is to lead the guild to ultimate fame. To do so, you have to build up your reputation by completing quests that have been sent to the guild. To view the quests, click the quest button at the top. If you accept a quest, you will select the adventurers to send and to choose what they take on the journey. Prepare carefully, for your adventurers will have to pay the price. So basically, make sure to prepare or they die. When preparing your adventurers, you also have to bring supplies for the upcoming quests. The amount of supplies available to purchase depends on the quest length. Okay, so before we do that, let's sort out the characters. So you are going to be Scorpio. Alright, and then the Uber Mage is going to be Destroyer. Okay, that's a pretty good name. And I'll add you to the roster up top. It'll just take me a second. The website roster. And your traits are educated, organized, strong, pretty. All right. And then we've also got Quantum. And Quantum, at the moment, is a warrior, but, you know, that might change. So warrior is like two-handed melee, and then defender is like sword and board. Popular, bright, eagle-eyed. All right, let's see if I did this right. Come on, upload. Update. So, we go to the roster, and there they are. Looking good. Thumbs up. Okay, given that Scorpio is wounded, we can leave him out of the next available quest so that he doesn't get further wounded, because we do Quantum at the least at the moment. And of course, Quantum, you're responsible for this. So let me talk about class goals. In just a moment. I'm going to make some assumptions for Ink here, for instance. So you can set a class goal, And there are master classes, but I don't think I'm going to actually be able to unlock master classes within one marathon because this game is pretty big in scope. So like if a mage wants to become a high mage, they will need an intelligence of 12 and a wisdom of 10. And as I mentioned before, the high mage will gain a lot more stat points, right? So we have int A, dex B, wisdom B, then a regular mage, which is BBB. So a high mage gains more intellect per level than a regular mage. So becoming a high mage as early as possible, as low level as possible, makes you the most powerful as possible. So if we wanted a class goal for Ink as high mage, we would just click that. And all that is going to do is as soon as we acquire the int and wisdom in order to become a high mage, we'll be informed that we can upgrade to a high mage. And in fact, Destroyer has just requested a class goal of that indeed. So set class goal, high mage. Now the other thing about mages, which is worth mentioning, mages are a little unique in that they can also kind of specialize in a type of magic, whether it's fire, earth, ice, or electricity. So that's another thing mages can set that that other classes don't have, because other classes are restricted to just like whatever weapon they have and whatever armor they have. And then on top of that, Guitar Luna wants to be an common assassin. So the assassin goal here is willpower 10, dex 12. And then Scorpio wants to become a guardian named Scorp. Okay, I think I set that all up, and I'll update the website in just a second. It's important to note that I don't really care about meta. If you want, like, for instance, if Destroyer wanted to be, like, a warrior, despite his traits, well, actually, he's strong, so that would actually make sense. Let's say rogue, despite his traits, like, I wouldn't stop you. You're welcome to advance your character however you wish. You'll just maybe be underpowered. But that's, you know, fine for all intents and purposes. So, roster is updated. Not the name, hold on. It just takes a second to update. Alright, that looks about right. Scorp, the defender, wants to be guardian. Guitar Lilin wants to be an assassin. Destroyer wants to be high mage. Perfect. And Quantum, you want to be a ranger? You got it. So set class goal. Actually, well, in this case, just to intervene a little bit, if you want to become a ranger, it's going to be easier to become an archer first. The reason for this is, and I hadn't explained this, so I don't blame you for not knowing. At the moment, as a warrior, every level, you're going to be gaining a lot more strength and endurance than, like, dexterity. So if you want to become a ranger, a ranger requires strength 10, dex 12, but warriors don't gain a lot of dex. So if you want to become a ranger, becoming a rogue or an archer first may be in your best interest, because an archer, for instance, will be gaining dex and a little strength to become a ranger, because the ranger requires strength and dex. And then the rogue will be gaining dex and a little strength, but then if you stay a warrior, you're just not gaining a lot of dex, as dex is the primary stat for a ranger. So that's why I mention it. And cheers. And thank you everyone in the activity feed for resubbing and cheering and all that. Thank you kindly. I didn't want to interrupt all the story up until this point with that, but cheers. Okay. Now, in the class sheets here, over to the class sheet again, you can see some of the locked traits there. The locked traits, Bard, Monk, Paladin, and Arcane Knight, will get unlocked later on. A Bard is like a a powerful archer that also heals and rallies party members. The monk is obviously melee fists. The paladin is like a tank that also kind of heals and fights the undead. And arcane knight is a hybrid between warrior and mage. Kind of the worst of both worlds, but well, whatever. Yeah, so Quantum, you do have you have traits for bright intelligence and dex growth. So you're right. You will gain dex if you stay a warrior. So it's not unreasonable because of your Eagle Eye trait to remain a warrior until you become a ranger. All right, first quest. Here are the quests that we have. They're 1-star quests. That correlates to difficulty. Collecting items are going to be scattered around the forest. Things to note is payout and resources gained. Between all of these, the top forest collection quest gives us 20 ore and 4 common hides, as well as the most gold. So that's probably the one I'm going to pick as a result. Did I update the roster correctly? Yeah, okay, cool. And then exploring the area, you only have to explore a certain percentage of the map. There we go. I'm going to accept the forest collection quest. And then we'll build a roster. The other party slots are locked for now. They will become unlocked later on. We're going to leave Scorp at home to heal. So we'll have 2 melee, 2 range. We have no healer yet, but that's fine. Now, in terms of gear, if you do recommended, it will tell you how many supplies to bring. And this is so that we can camp like twice or whatever. And then we could also bring some medical supplies. I am not, however, going to bring the bandages and the antidotes. I don't think we'll need them. I'll bring them because we don't have a priest yet. Just in case. So the supplies you end up buying to bring on quest, like if we wanted to add more supplies for some reason, you could. And you just spend more gold. As you can see, my gold down there is changing. And then supplies you don't end up using, you will get partial refunds for. So I would suggest, generally speaking, to go with more supplies, just in case you get like beat up, because it's a lot better to spend more money up front and not fail your quest than it would be to fail your quest and eat all the cost of like the lost supplies. All right, front row. Oh, this works. I'll just leave it as is. So we got Destroyer and Ink at the back, Guitar Lilith, and Quantum in the front. Every time I hear that gong, I'm like, test your might. But, you know, it's still just a gong. My head just goes to the headspace quick. I think, understandably. All right. The other thing is the rainbow flowers will be very obvious. But we're going to want to collect as much other stuff as we can. Trust me. The amount of wood and leather and ore that we're going to need for equipment is going to be really important. Note that there's a treasure chest over there. So that's going to be really important to pick up as well. And then the monsters themselves can't go through these obstacles unless you clear the obstacle. Now, one weird thing about this is the more things we kill, the more bonus XP we'll get. Now, here's the caveat. The caveat is I don't have a lot of like replacement adventurers at the moment, right? We only have a roster of 5. I brought 4 of them. So I'm really not looking to get wounded. So I'm going to be very combat adverse, trying not to get engaged in fighting, because there's not a lot of loot to be had killing most monsters. Some of the monsters will have like yellow icons over their heads, indicating that they have like special items. But those engagements are usually a lot harder to win. But most of the time, if you just go up killing everything, you're going to end up with an incredibly injured party, and then you have to spend a lot of gold to heal them, and then they'll be really upset, and you'll just have to spend a lot of gold to then like liquor them up so that they don't lose morale. Because the simple fact of the matter is, if your adventurers are too depressed for too long, they just leave you. They just bail. They're just like, forget it. I'm not sticking around in your guild anymore. So keeping them happy is actually quite important. And this is one of the rainbow flowers we're trying to collect. Yeah, being a murder hobo does not pay unless you have like an overwhelmingly powerful party. Now, with that said, in the future, let's say all of our adventurers, instead of being level 1, are like level 8, and we select like a two-star difficulty quest, a whole party of level 8 adventurers are going to smoke almost every engagement so quickly that they'll get basically no injuries, meaning that there is some cases where you can like murder hobo your way through everything because you're so overpowered it won't matter. But generally, early game, you're not trying to murder hobo everything. Like, there's no need to get into every fight possible. That little exclamation mark indicates that this group just spotted me. And we found one of the rainbow flowers. So we have a rainbow flower here, and then another rainbow flower unknown location. But I am going to disengage from that goblin and go a different route. And let's try to clear this. Success. And rolling a positive chance will gain you experience. So like disarming this trap is a difficulty 10. Guitar Load has a dex of 7. So, easy. And that's like free experience as far as I'm concerned. Lockpick for treasure. What's the small, what's the red thing at the top left corner of your avatar picture? That's your hair ribbon? Oh, for Destroyer? Yeah, that's your staff. That's your weapon. Your apprentice staff. Now, at this point, I am going to, so we could continue exploring, but I have 6 stamina points left. I'm just going to return to the guild. I know we didn't get any fights, but we got a whole bunch of free experience, a whole bunch of loot. We didn't use up anything. And then, as you can see, the supplies here count as valuables, so it's being partially refunded. So we ended up getting 385 plus 1550 gold. Another really good positive effect is a whole bunch of people leveled up. And level 2 is a big jump, trust me. It's a big, big, big jump. So everyone except for Destroyer leveled up, and then we can see the level up mechanics, which is important to understand because it plays out a bit differently in this game than most. Can you hide in tall grass? No. Hey, Guildmaster! Congratulations on your first successful quest. This was the least of all outcomes. It would have been too much for even you yourself if the first quest we accepted ended in failure. I hope I didn't have to hold protocol with you after every quest we do. All right, guys, let's get along. On another note, we came because we wanted to show you the last 2 places in the guild. As you already know, most of our resources are collected by our adventurers on their quests. We use these resources to make our own equipment and potions. Unfortunately, our former alchemist has left us, so for now, we lost our ability to make potions. But luckily, our blacksmith is still with us. Let's give him a visit and see if we have enough resources to make use of. Alright, so before we do that, I want to level up. So, occasionally your adventurers will earn enough experience points to level up. To level up a character, click on the arrow icon on the character overview page, which is there. On a level up, all characters roll for their stat increases. The chances of those depend on their stat growths, which are primarily influenced by their class. Traits and talents can also influence the stat growth of a character. For every level up, a character can re-roll their stat increases once. However, the character will have to take a stat increase from the second roll. So basically, if you get a bad roll initially, you can try to re-roll just the once. Also, Bortrek, thank you for the gifted subs. You also have the ability to opt for static growth mechanic by choosing it in custom difficulty, which I'm not doing. Additionally, every 2 levels, you will earn a skill point. Skill points can be used in the training ground to teach adventurers a new skill. When an adventurer has enough levels to gain a rank, they will gain an additional skill point. Adventurers will no longer gain skill points after level 24. So, Ink, leveling up to level 2. And here's how it works. Ink only gained Dex, Intelligence, and Wisdom. In this case, I think it's worth trying to re-roll, because I think a re-roll might give Ink Strength. It did, but didn't gain Dex. And the higher this percentage is from your traits and your class, the at 105%, you're like guaranteed to gain Int. Now here's the thing: you can gain more than 1 point. If you have a high enough growth for intelligence or whatever, you can gain 2 intelligence per level, or even 3. 3 is very, very hard to get, but 2 is actually pretty common. And there we go. Ink leveled up. All right, let's level up Guitar Lilin. The other thing that is important to note is to level them up. Oh, so here's a really good example. Guitar Lilin gained 2 Dex and 1 of everything else. Definitely don't want to re-roll that. Guitar Lilin has like a 50-50 chance for a lot of the stats, and 1 that 50-50 chance. And you can also see the class goal here. So one of the really important things about the class goal, not only will it inform you when you meet the requirements to become a better class, but it can also tell you when to re-roll stats. So it's going to be more important for Guitar Lilin to gain willpower and dexterity than really any other anything, because becoming an assassin is what she's aiming for. So whenever this willpower here doesn't end up leveling up, that's worth the reroll. So this is definitely not worth the reroll. In fact, with that dex, it's super not worth the reroll. All right, and then Quantum. And Quantum is probably going to get pretty good dex and intellect gains. So let's see here. Oof. So, as you can see, looking to become a ranger, we're going to want dex and strength. We gained horrible chances here, so I'm going to reroll. And it was horrible again. So we did gain intelligence that time around, but we never gained the dex. I rerolled to try to gain dex on this level and didn't get it. And that's just how it is sometimes. The other thing is, like, working day after day is exhausting, and they become disgruntled. Just wanted to point that out. So let's go visit the blacksmith. Barrett, are you here? We want to introduce you to someone. I'm here. Yikes. Easy, big guy. Didn't I tell you not to sneak up on people like that? It wasn't. I stood here when you came in. Hello, Barrett. Hello, Fiola. Barrett, this is the new guildmaster. How about you introduce yourself? The name's Barrett. I'm the blacksmith. Nice to meet you. I'm Rad. Barrett isn't much of a talker, so you'll have to excuse him when he just goes silent. But he is an excellent blacksmith who's been providing our adventurers with equipment for years now. Whenever you have enough materials, consider letting Barrett craft new equipment for our adventurers. It's the most effective way of boosting an adventurer's combat capabilities. Do you have anything to add, Barrett? No. You're the salt of the earth, Barrett. Alright, let's have a little chat with him, and then we'll look at about crafting. Hello, Guildmaster. So, how long have you been with the guild now, Barrett? Nearly 10 years. And how did you end up in the guild? Been a blacksmith in the city, Fran saw my work. Asked me to become a blacksmith here. I accepted. Short and sweet. Okay, so we have the materials to make fine daggers or a fine sword and shield. I do not, however, have the materials to make a staff or armor. And this is where Miakan plays a role. Well, we'll get into that in a minute. Last place I want you to visit is maybe the most important one in the entire Adventurers Guild. And I'm not saying that just because it's my workplace. Jeez, would it hurt you to try to be more sociable? So it's the training ground. What I was going to say is eventually Makan will be able to start selling you stuff like common hides and wood and ores, which is going to give us even more crafting ability. And that's why that stuff is so important early on, because crafting materials dramatically increases the equipment that you can make. So here's the thing. At the moment, I can make daggers for Guitar Lilin or a sword and shield for Scorp. And that's about it. So what do I craft? Daggers or sword and shield. And pulls up, and you guys can decide. So I referenced this in the participation guide, and I'll just read this. Throughout the stream, I will be polling live viewers as if they are participating, if all of the participating live viewers were members of the guild, so that they may make decisions which characters should receive special items or special training. There will be many opportunities for viewers who have not been assigned characters to deeply influence the direction of the guild, and this would be one such way, by deciding like who gets gear, etc. All right, and while you vote on that, let's go to the training ground. This is my domain. This is the training ground where we veterans teach the adventurers all of our skills and knowledge. Are you the only teacher here? No, of course not. Adventurer parties need to have many different roles. I might be good with a sword, but I'm lousy with other weapons. For that, we have other instructors. We used to have dozens of instructors with different skill sets to each, but unfortunately, most have left the guild since its decline. I hope that we might gather new instructors again after our reputation improves. So this is something I referenced before, which is that there are some block classes, Bard, Monk, Paladin, Arcane Knight, etc. And we need to find those instructors to be able to become those classes. But those who stayed with us are exceptionally talented people. Currently, they don't seem to be here, but you should talk to them when you see them. They're good people. I do not doubt it. Fran always had an eye for good people. Well, there is one exception. Talking about yourself? Oh, burn. Seriously, guys, didn't I say you hadn't seen each other for 10 years? How could anyone still hold such hostility after that long of a time? It's easy. If it's her. I like how we're finishing each other's sentences. We hate each other so much. At least I know who's responsible if either of you end up dead. Yep. Thank you for tuning in to our Adventurer Guild, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. But please keep in mind, I'm trying to avoid backseating and spoilers. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord to take part in community events, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow adventurers.